aerospace and defense suppliers, we essentially use the annual reps and certs collection to make sure that all of the flow down requirements are being met. This is not just contractually required by companies like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, but also the federal government can also audit Celestica and ask for those reps and certs. So before we issue purchase orders to aerospace and defense suppliers, we need to have these completed. That's what part one was about. And part one got into the regulations, got into the fact that enforcement has increased, then provided information about how often we have to do this, once a year. And we know we're a little bit behind this year. Normally we start in April and do our collections and then review everything in November and then that kind of thing, and then start filing particular reports that we have to file, et cetera. A little bit behind, but we're going to be fine. And Intelleges is a company that has worked with Celestica for, I think, over 6 or 7 years. And we've worked with Honeywell Aerospace, et cetera, some of the large primes providing the same service. And Celestica continues to use us.
Yeah, in fact, that's how we found out about Celestica is through Honeywell using them.
Yeah. So Celestica needs to have a system of record. It can't just be like spreadsheets or PDFs that it has to be a place where an auditor could go. It's the official system of record. It needs to be at an enterprise level, so all the sites have to have the same process in place, et cetera, so that when auditors come, they can get one perspective. So that's why what we do. We provide that system of record.
And John, real quick, I'd like to add, and I've written the Celestica procedures that say our procurement file is not just the procurement file that the employee keeps, but it's also for reps and certs, this system. This is part of our procurement file. If an auditor comes in and they say, we want to see this in your procurement file, this is part of it per our policies and procedures.
Right. Go ahead. There's consistency there, which is important. The good news is that for the folks on this call, the system basically does all the heavy lifting. All you have to do is go in, make sure that the PDF is there before you issue a PO, and that's it. You don't have to check anything or validate or go through the form and see if anything is missing or anything like that. The system does all of that for you. And I'm basically restating what's there already. So the last meeting, what we went through was, first of all, making sure that everybody could log in through SSO, which is single sign-on. And does anybody not know what SSO is? There was an issue, right, with a train. You guys are not in the SSO system, is that correct?
Yeah, so we use our own email addresses and everything like that. So most of the employees here don't have a single sign-on with the Celestica email address. So got it. I have one and a handful of others.
Okay, so we want to make sure that everybody can log in. Okay, so that's if anybody can't log in, they should contact Ed Bond.
Yep.
Okay,
and we'll get you going. Okay.
So I'll probably just have to provide a list to Ed at some point.
Yeah, we want to make sure that every single person, we need to confirm that everybody can log in. That's really important, even from an audit perspective, that you guys have access to the system. That would be a finding if you don't have access to the system. What we went through last time was, when do you have to check to make sure that the reps and certs is available? And it's before you issue a PO. And we went through, how do you use the Intelleges system once you've logged in to search for suppliers? And just, in this case, you don't have to print and save the PDF, but you can if you want to. How to check the status. If we sent an email and that person is no longer to one of the suppliers, to a point of contact, and that person is no longer there, we have to change the point of contact in the system, and we showed you how to do that. I'm not going to go through all the step-by-step because, as I said before, that is on that video. So it's a short video and anyone can look at that, and how to add a supplier. We also took you through what we call the supplier experience, what that experience is like for a supplier to have to answer the questions, and the FAQ and PDF, which Ed Bond has. If you guys haven't looked at that, he can provide that as well. But the one thing that also you should know is that this system is also accessible if you don't have the Intelleges link or this thing that I'm just trying to find the link for this appintelleges.com, you can just go to the celestica.com/suppliers. And then
this is where we keep the FAR 12 and FAR 15 flow downs and other requirements. So we've added this year, this portal button for our suppliers to make it easier for them and easier for our buyers. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, that's excellent. So does everybody understand that you can access the Intelleges system and that your suppliers can access the Intelleges system through the Celestica portal? This is really important because suppliers will call up. Even if we send them an email, they'll say, I don't feel comfortable clicking on a link. I don't want it. So you just send them to the celestica.com/suppliers portal. And that's where they would access and put in their access code that they got in the email, which is a unique access code, and start the process of completing the application. But if some of you need to log in, you can also go to the portal and click, and you'll see that it says here back to login up here. Did everybody see that?
The upper right.
Yeah.
Upper right. Okay.
Got it.
So this is, so that portal allows the suppliers to access the system and allows the folks that train, I'm going to say it, to access it as well. Okay. And the rest of this is pretty straightforward, how you log in. When you log in, this is the dashboard that you see, and you'll see how many suppliers. This is an NR, means no response. So that means we invited them and we didn't get a response. RI, response incomplete. And RC that's what we're all aiming at, response complete. And all of these are clickable. And again, it's all in that spreadsheet. I'm not going to get into site engagement. Once you do that, what you're going to do for the suppliers, if you need to check before you issue a PO, you're going to go to that login and just say partner find. And then you're going to be able to, I know this looks really confusing, but just put the partner name here in this little box. And you could search by other things, but I would just put the partner name in that little box. And then you just going to right click and say get PDF for that. I'm just showing you test data. So, and then you would just say get PDF, and you're going to see a PDF that looks like that. And that confirms that it exists, and you could either save it or just look at it and say, now I can issue the PO. That makes sense to everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, that's really the long and short of the previous training. Is that sufficient, Steve, do you think, or do we need to get into more detail?
I think that's pretty good. I think a lot of it's going to be people getting into the system and actually being able to maneuver around in there. And then some questions might come up, but I think for now that seems to be good.
Yeah, and the video that YouTube is really perfectly explains every section, and you could slow it down and go back, and if you get any confusion. But today I wanted to focus on part 2. And part 2 is, how do we invite suppliers to complete the PDF? How does a train do that? And if I'm mispronouncing a train, someone let me know, because I'm a stickler for pronunciation.
We say Atron.
Atron. Okay, yeah. So I will. Okay, Atron. So almost sounds like air train, but okay, Atron. The folks at Atron have the responsibility to actually invite their suppliers. That's how we do it. So I'm going to explain how that works. Okay. We've already gone through part 1. So today we're just going to see, how does invite the suppliers work? Okay. And essentially you'll learn how to find confirmed suppliers, which is just looking at the dashboard. How to invite them one by one. How to invite them as a batch. How to preview that batch before we send it out to your suppliers. And then how we actually click on invite and the invites go out. Any questions about that before I get started?
I'm good. Does anybody else from Atron have any questions?
And John, the confirmed suppliers are?
We're going to get to it.
Oh, okay, great.
Get to it. But good, that's the next question. And then when we invite suppliers, inevitably there are going to be what we call partial failures, which really just means bounced invitations, which means that for some reason the information that Ed and I got when we loaded it, now it's in the system and you send out those invites, they bounced. And then we're going to show you what to do when those bounces occur. Okay? And of course, how do you continue to track and monitor responses? Okay? So this is about actually, now we have your list of suppliers. You're going to send out the invites, and then you're going to see, okay, how do I see which one's bounced? And then that needs to be cleaned up because you guys at Airtran know who the correct point of contact is. Ed and I do not have that information. So if something is bouncing, it's because there's probably some point of contact failure. Okay? As we spoke before, what you do is you log in, and again, you can go to the supplier portal on Celestica.com, back to dashboard, and you log in. When you log in, you're going to see this dashboard. This is what your screen will look like. And you will see that there are confirmed suppliers. Now, what that means is that Ed and I received the list from Airtran, and we loaded it, and then we did a deduplication. We removed duplicates that were within that list, but also if that supplier also appears at another site, like Tucson or Maple Grove, then we deduplicate that. We have a way of deduplicating that so we're not asking the same supplier for the same information. So that's something that we do. We do that deduplication. And that's how they get to the status of confirmed, that C status. So right now we have 439 suppliers that have been deduplicated in the system, but they have not been invited. We go from loaded to that deduplication, which means that now Ed and I have cleaned up the data as much as we can, and we make sure that all the emails at least are valid emails, et cetera, before we put them into the confirmed basket. Now, getting them from the confirmed basket to the invited basket is what today's lesson is about. So that's what we're going to focus on. How do you get from confirmed to invited? And like I said, you're going to log in and go to the dashboard and click on the actual link, the number underneath confirmed for Airtran, right? You're going to click on the link, and that's going to bring up, you'll see, I'm just going to say broadly, all of those suppliers, those 439, but you do not have to invite them all at once. So the Intelleges system allows you to manage your workflow a little bit. And you don't have to invite all the suppliers at once. You can invite 10% every week. You can invite 25% every week, 50% every week, or if you want, you can invite them all at once. But then you're cleaning up a lot of data and doing it depends on your workload. If you've got other things going on that are very sort of workload intensive, then you may want to just start with 10%, 25%, 50% on a weekly basis until you whittle it down to zero. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Okay. Ed, did you want to add anything there?
No, I don't think so, John. Thank you.
Okay. I recommend that you start with 10% and then bump it up to 25% until you whittle it down to zero and do it on a weekly basis.
So this is can you go back to that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve. Please.
That's okay. So this is the setup that you guys are recommending. You go 10 to 25 to 50, and then eventually get to the 100%.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to make sure.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's just a question of each site managing their workflow. So Valencia may have different. So rather than just invite everybody at once and then it becomes more difficult to manage, there's a process where we can slowly go through the 439 and make it more manageable. And so here, when you click on confirm that number, you will see the list of confirmed partners. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Let me just show you right now. You'll see the list of confirmed partners. And up here, it says invite. And here's where you pick the percentage. And it's only going to say 10, 15, 10, 25, 50, 100. Okay. So you pick the percentage. And I don't know why my programmers made this so faded. That should be bold, but that's where you click on invite. But before you click on invite, you can select the percentage and review the list. And it'll all say confirmed, and you'll see them all there. When you click on invite, then you will get a confirm invitation dispatch. You are about to send 44 invitation emails, randomly selected, 10% sample of your 439 confirmed partners. And each recipient, they'll transition from being confirmed to now invited, no response, because you will have invited them when you click on send invitations. You can cancel and say, I don't want to do it. I decided not to do it. But that's how you go from selecting the percentage and then clicking on invite, and then you'll see this screen come up, and then you say send invitations. And again,
now that list, when you click on that number, you get a spreadsheet that has all of the ones that in the number, the 439, it'll list them all. And you can drop that into an Excel spreadsheet. You can sort it, and you could select particular suppliers, and then you could invite them each individually as well. There's so many things that we can do.
You're absolutely right that you can do it all at once, but we recommend a pilot first and then a staged rollout.
Otherwise, you could get responses from hundreds of them saying, okay, what is this? What should I do? I get a lot of questions like that sometimes.
Exactly right. So that's why we say do a pilot first and then a staged rollout. And Steve, when you guys do your initial pilot, call Ed up, let us know what's going on and how that's going and if any issues are arising or anything like that. Okay?
Yep. Got it.
But you will create your own calendar and you'll say at this set, in order for us to, like I said, we are behind somewhat this year for a variety of reasons. Ed can explain. And the more quickly these invites go out, the better. But we don't want to burden you guys with an overwhelming 439 suppliers calling you and saying, what's this all about? And how do I get to the portal, etc. So you guys do get to specifically customize that to what you have available. Now, if you preview, you look at that list before you make sure this is what I want to send out. You can scroll down and then you click, and then you'll see that there's been a status transition and that those suppliers will have moved to the NR, right? Invited, no response. As soon as you send them out, that number, this will decrement by that number, 44, and this will increment by that number. And that's how you go, yep, we know that it all worked. And in the background, we tracked to make sure that those emails went out, and we have methods of confirming that they were received and all of that. So that number does not increment without all of that validation happening in the background. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Okay. Now, Ed Bond mentioned that, yes, of course, if you don't want to use the batch system and you want to just go into the confirms and right click and say send invite, that's how you do the one at a time.
And,
yes.
Yeah. Paula.
Perfect.
Yep.
And let me just go back. I'm back to the initial. What they will see when they get an invite is they will see a series of emails. Let me see if I can find them all for you. Okay, yeah, there we go. So they'll get an invite that looks like that. And then these are the reminders that the system will send out.
Yeah.
Right?
They get redder.
They get redder, and then when they complete it, they'll get a green one that says you successfully completed. Yes, they do get redder. Yeah,
at least you reward them with the green one too. So
yeah. So I think that represents our body temperature, our head, our. So this is how you do a single invite. And oh, actually, we're doing good on time. Actually, only half an hour. Okay. So this is how you do a single invite. So you can do them one at a time. Maybe if you want to pilot some initial one at a time, and then you want to work on doing the batch process, you can do that as well. That's another sort of strategy. And while the invites are going out, you'll get a little progress bar there, and it shows you what's going on in the system, and that it's sending them out. And then when it completes successfully, you'll get 6 invitations. You'll get your own green little thing that says 6 invitations were sent, or 44 invitations were sent, etc. And you can view who was invited. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. We've been doing it for 25 years. It's amazing. So it's a pretty straightforward process. Now, when we send out these emails, we get failures. And the failures are usually not a valid address.
Meaning email address, right?
Email address, yes. Okay, so we may get a failure. So this is, what do we do when we get a failure? The first thing that you should know is that those will not increment the invited no response, the NR. They will increment the reviewing. So the data will not go to invited no response. It will go to the reviewing in the dashboard. Any questions about that?
no, makes sense.
Okay, so they go to reviewing. And then, so you look at the reviewing, and then when you click on that reviewing, you will see that it says bounced. We'll talk about reviewing pending approval. Different matter. Today we're talking about invites and bounced, okay? So bounce, and it will show you exactly recipient address rejected, ACM. I know it's at the end of the day, we're recording what happened, but the key is, how do we resolve this issue? How do we resolve this issue? Okay, this is in here for a little bit sort of geeky stuff. User unknown. So essentially the email didn't work. Maybe the email that we got was not correctly formatted. I don't know, but it did not make it to the intended receiver.
It's almost always when I get my feedback that, oh, that person's no longer with us, or they don't do that role anymore. They've moved on. So you have to send it to so-and-so. And the buyers will know better about who to send it to than certainly you and I, John.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So this is, so all right. So today we've gone from the confirms to sending the invitations, okay, and now we're dealing with the reviewing and the bounced emails. And so in the previous lesson, we learned about how to right-click and redirect, where you could literally right-click and click redirect. I know you'll see it in the previous lesson. We spent a lot of time on that. And then you enter the correct email address and send it if you happen to have the correct point of contact. Redirect is the best way to clean this up. You just right-click, redirect, put in the correct email address that you have. Our system automatically sends out the invite to the new person. It doesn't bounce. We're done. Make sense?
Yep.
Now you may decide that that company is no longer a supplier. They're no longer in business. We didn't write any purchase orders to them in the last 18 months. Why did Ed Vaughn and John Betancourt include them in the list? Then instead of redirecting, you will archive. So these are your choices: redirect, archive. That's how you clean up that bounced list. Right click and you either redirect or archive. Redirect means you just change the point of contact.
Okay.
That's all it means. Because we have a point of contact. Maybe it's outdated. The person's no longer there, as Ed said. So then you redirect. You know your data better than we do to the correct supplier, and that eliminates that issue. Ed and I can't do that because we don't have any. There's no way that we would know who to redirect it to. Okay. Or you archive them. Ed, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's fine, John. Thank you.
Excellent. But generally what you want to do is you want to contact the supplier and find out who is the right point of contact for this. Okay? No questions so far. This is, Steve, you and I already talked about, like, how do we do the rollout, pick 10%. I would definitely do a pilot where we start with some single invites, make sure everything is running the way you want it to. And then I would go through the process of doing those selections, those batch selections on a weekly basis until you get to 0, and you will have done your, once you send out the invites, then you go back to tracking. Did they respond complete? Oh, they haven't responded. I got to send them a reminder. Before I send out a PO, and this is really talked a little bit about in the previous training, but okay, now you've accomplished what we wanted, right? You sent them an invite. Now we have to track responses.
Response incomplete could mean that they just opened it up and looked at it. Or they could have started to complete it and then got interrupted and didn't finish. But basically, they got it.
Which is very important, yeah. So that means we call it sign of life. Sign of life over there. And that means when we're doing this, we do it globally, right? So it's like all over the world, and it's going to Malaysia, going, is there a sign of life? Is anybody there? Was that company still alive? And, so that's very important, responded incomplete, but then you can send out reminders, etc., based on that. So it doesn't end at just sending the invites.
Which means when you go to the response incomplete, where's the numbers again, John, on the dashboard?
Sorry about that.
There, stop. When you see the 2, you can click on the 2 and you know exactly who they are. And then you can just go and send it again.
Yeah, send a reminder or something. Yeah.
Or maybe call them and say, hey, I see you got this. You looked at it. You opened it. Is there any questions? Can you complete it, please? I'd like to issue this PO.
Perfectly stated. Okay. I think, Ed, thank you for that. I think that covers the waterfront. And again, just want to make sure everybody, so, then you go back to tracking and then cleaning up the declined and bounced. But I want to make sure that everybody, well, you guys don't do single sign-on. Okay, so that's fine. Everybody's got Ed Bond's phone number, his email. He's available 24/7, by the way. I don't know if he made that clear.
Absolutely.
You guys can call him
100%.
whatever you want to.
I will support your, Steve. If I get that.
Ask Kyla. Kyla is the one at Celestica who's responsible for single sign-on.
He's fantastic.
Okay, so make sure we CC her as well if it's a single sign-on discussion.
She is the person that we use to set it up.
All right.
Because again, we wanted to make it easier for you guys. The easier we could make it, the more compliant we're probably going to be.
All right. I'm adding her to the email now.
Okay. So
thank you, Steve.
While you do that, just again, you log in, which obviously, Steve is we have to resolve that issue, and you look at the confirmed pool. You click on that, then you can either invite a single supplier or you can use the percentage. Click invite. You review the recipient list. You wait for the progress bar, and then you review the bounced invitations in the reviewing part of the dashboard. And then you continue to track responses through invited, responded, and the complete life cycle. That is lesson 2.
And the dashboard is your friend. It tells you exactly where everything is. You click on the number, you can find out exactly who is complete, who isn't complete, who's gotten it. It's really your friend. And it's super easy to change an email address on a supplier as well. So again, just a couple of clicks and you're there.